start with a top 5 matchup in beautiful Hartford, Connecticut. That is right. Marquette number 4 in the country, UConn number 1 in the country. These are the top 2 teams in the Big East. And let me start by saying this. The Excel Center in Hartford is about to be rocking on Saturday afternoon. Okay, I can tell you, listen, I grew up in Connecticut. By the way, wearing my Maura Hurley 24 t-shirt. If you want one of UConn fans, link is in the show description. But I bring it up. I grew up in the Connecticut area. And what I can tell you, when I was a kid, unless you knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy, or unless you had, you had the Johnny Manziel money coming out your ears, you couldn't get a UConn ticket. And that is what this is trending to be in Hartford on Saturday afternoon. Went ahead and looked it up. How about this? Just to get in, it's like $150. To sit basically in the lower level, good seats, mid-court, we're talking $500, $600, $700. To sit courtside, we're talking almost $2,000. The bars outside Excel are going to be hopping, and in that building, we should get an incredible matchup because here's the bottom line. I know that it's been a weird up and down year, and there's teams coming, teams. These are not only 2 of the best teams in the country, these are 2 teams that are playing as well as anyone in the country right now as well coming into this game. Listen, with UConn, I know we've talked about it a lot. I don't know, and I know I said this on Wednesday's show, I don't know that they're getting enough credit for what they are doing right now. We are in this NIL portal world where anybody can beat anybody on any given night. And UConn has now ripped off 13 straight wins coming into this game. That is unbelievable in a power conference. I don't want to say it's unprecedented, but it is like, it's awesome. And they're not just beating teams, they're destroying really good teams. A 43-point win over Xavier at home. Sean Miller said, I've never seen anything like that I've been a part of. 14-point win over Creighton, a team that is currently in the top 15. A 13-point win at St. John's at Madison Square Garden. So UConn isn't just beating teams, they're destroying them. What did they have? A 36-point win at DePaul. I know it's DePaul, but 36 points on Wednesday night against the Blue Demons. Then there is Marquette. And I think because UConn has been so dominant, I don't know that people appreciate what Marquette is doing right now. Marquette is on its own 8-game win streak coming into this game. Marquette is beating good teams as well. Beat St. John's twice during this stretch. Crushed Villanova at Villanova. And they are playing great basketball. These are the top 2 teams in the standings. Regardless of who wins, basically, these are really the only 2 teams that can realistically win the Big East right now. And so I think this is going to be an awesome game. Now, in terms of the matchups themselves, what I would say, the thing that you need to focus on, it is the speed and quickness of Marquette versus the size and physicality of UConn. Now, UConn's got speed too. We'll get to that in a minute. But for Marquette, for people who haven't watched them, they play like Shaka Smart wants to play. They play super fast. They force a lot of turnovers. They shoot a lot of threes. And what they do as well as anybody, they make you play their game. I remember talking about this with South Carolina basketball a few weeks ago when they beat Kentucky. I said, look, South Carolina player for player isn't as good as Kentucky, but they make you play their game. What's ironic about South Carolina, they play super slow. Marquette plays super fast, and they play super fast with really talented players. Tyler Kolek, the reigning Big East Player of the Year, 3 straight games with 27-plus points. How about this? 27 points and 13 assists in that win at Villanova that I mentioned a few seconds ago. He's playing elite. Cam Jones, their second-best player, was out with injury. He has been back the last 2 or 3 games. He's playing really well. You have Stevie Mitchell, you have Joplin, you have Iguodaro. This is a really good team that I think bluntly is good enough to make the Final Four, and they're a team that is good. As I said, they're playing well on an 8-game win streak after losing 3 of 5 to open Big East play. But then also, they play a style that makes you want to play their style. They play super fast, but then what ends up happening, once you get in the rhythm of playing fast, you get loose, you get sloppy. And that's what this team does, maybe better than anybody, not any better than anybody in college basketball statistically. But in the Big East, they force more turnovers than anybody in this league. 17.5 per game. And so you talk about turnovers lead to transition points, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what they're going to try to do in Hartford at the Excel Center. Now, from the UConn perspective, we've talked so much about them. But obviously, what they want to do, they want to dominate the paint and the glass. Because as good as Marquette is, only Osa Ighodaro is the only guy that averages more than 5 rebounds per game. Tyler Kolek averages right around 5, but he's a 6'4 guard. Marquette's basically going to play 4 small guys at all times. They're going to try to run you off the court. What UConn needs to do to win this game is be big and tough in the paint. Donovan Clingan, got to be tough. Alex Caravan got to keep doing what he's been doing since he's been back from injury. And then the rest of the pieces, they got to do what they do. Cam Spencer, 15 points per game, 44% three-point shooting. Tristan Newton, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. And so with UConn, it's about the size that they have, but also on top of that size, it is about the physicality that they play with, the way they dominate the boards, and that's where I think they're ultimately going to have success. In terms of this game, listen, I like Marquette. I think they're really good. I think they may be the most underrated team right now. Like, it just feels like everybody, and we just talked about it in the previous segment, it feels like everybody plays well, takes a weird loss, plays well, takes a weird loss, plays well, it takes 2 losses, whatever. And that could be Tennessee, that could be North Carolina, that could be Kentucky, that could be whoever, Auburn. As good as Auburn's been playing at home, they just took a weird loss on the road at Florida. So I only bring it up because I respect what Marquette has done, but I think this is a tough matchup for really 3 reasons. One, it's just a mismatch matchup for Marquette. I know they want to play fast, but man, it is tough when UConn is just as athletic as you, but they also start 3 guys that are 6'8", 6'9", or bigger. Or I guess they start 2 plus Samson Johnson plus whatever. 2, and I think this is important, the home crowd is going to be an X factor. Place is going to be loud. It's going to be rocking. There's going to be a lot of home fans. But then 3, this is a part I don't think enough people have talked about. UConn is the reigning national champion. Nobody would ever trade that trophy you get on the first week in April for anything. But Marquette also has something that UConn did not earn last year, and that is the Big East regular season championship and the Big East tournament championship. And I remember talking before the season. I was talking to a buddy of mine that's in the Big East ecosystem, if you will, and he said, he's like, the thing that is going to motivate Hurley all year? It's going to be, we won the Natty, but we didn't protect our home turf. We didn't protect the Big East. We can't call ourselves the best team in the Big East, even if we were the best team in the country. And so I know that has been lingering in that building for a while. Marquette beat them 2 out of 3 times last year, including in the Big East tournament to eliminate UConn. And so I am here to tell you, I do believe that Marquette comes out, they play great basketball, but I have a hard time believing they can go into the XL Center against this team and get the win. I have UConn winning 79-72. We don't have a point spread as we record. And I think with that, a couple interesting, noteworthy things. One, with that win, I do think listen, I don't think it essentially does clinch the Big East regular season title for UConn. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but UConn is 13-1. If they were to win this game, they would have a 3-game lead in the Big East standings with 5 games to go. Now, they do still have to play at Marquette, at Creighton, at Providence, so it's not going to be easy. But I bring it up to say you have a 3-game lead with 5 games to go. That's a pretty advantageous thing going forward. Let me make sure I have that correct. Yes, after tonight, UConn will play only 5 more Big East games. Obviously, if Marquette wins, they would be one back in the loss column. And it is worth noting they do host UConn in the final week of the regular season. So obviously Marquette would very much be in the mix for a Big East championship if they win at the Excel Center. I just don't see it, but that is a very interesting game that I am very excited about.